Hey everybody, welcome back to the Azure Cosmos DB global user group. Sorry, the mouth sometimes is trying to work, but the rest of the brain just isn't. I'm sure you've been there, especially when you're live in front of a camera. You're always going to fumble your words. It's just what I do sometimes. Anyway, uh, welcome back to the Azure Cosmos DB Global User Group. My name is Jay Gordon. I'm a senior program manager with the Azure Cosmos DB team. We get together a couple times a month, maybe once a month, and we try to bring in different people from our community, people from Microsoft, who want to show you how to win using Azure Cosmos DB. Before we get started, I want to remind you of something really important. I really enjoyed that little musical interlude. I just want to remind you that the Azure Cosmos DB Conf 2025 call for papers, call for proposals, call for whatever you want to call it. It's the CFP. It is open. If you have not already and you would like to propose, I'm going to put the chat, the link to apply for the CFP in the chat. Don't worry, you'll be able to get it. I also want to know where you're watching from. So if you're watching right now, I'd love you to go in the chat and say, hey, my name is, Steve, and I'm watching from South Carolina. I just want to know where you're from. We love doing this and making sure that you're part of the show. So we've got some things that we're going to be talking about today. And one of them is CRUD Operations using the Azure Cosmos DB Emulator. So if you're a developer, you're doing some local development, and you don't necessarily want to put something live or even in a demo environment on Azure quite yet, there are tools that you can use. And today I've got a great guest named Farah. She's going to be showing us how to create CRUD operations and utilize the emulator so you can do some local development. But before we do that, I have my partner in crime here at Microsoft Reactor, Askia. How are you today?
I'm great, Jay. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I wish it was a little bit better weather here in New York City, but I'm getting by.
Yeah, we've got sunny skies, but it is very, very chilly today in the Puget Sound area. So, can feel you there.
Well, I know you've got some housekeeping for us
Yes,
today to kind of get us rolling on the show. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know what's going to happen, what's going on, and what they should expect?
absolutely, absolutely. Like Jay mentioned, before we get started, we definitely always want to review our code of conduct. So, if you could take a moment to look at that, and basically what that says is that we try to seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We definitely encourage engagement in the chat, so we definitely want you to jump in, but we ask that you be mindful of your commentary. Please be respectful, and if possible, please stay on topic. As Jay mentioned before, we're going to be able to share some useful links throughout the chat, so keep an eye, or the session, so keep an eye out for that. And this session will be recorded and is going to be available about 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. So with that said, our session today is scheduled to be approximately 1 hour, and there'll definitely be time for questions throughout. So with that said, I will definitely hand it back over to Jay and Farah and let them do their thing.
I will see you at the end of the show. Thanks as always. So I've got a really great guest, and we're going to be talking all about how we can start utilizing the emulator. Let me bring in Farah Abdou. Hi, Farah. You want to make sure you unmute. There you go.
Hi Jay. Hi everyone.
How are you doing? I'm pretty certain you're from the opposite side of the world that I'm on right now. Where are you broadcasting from today?
Yeah, I'm actually based on Egypt right now. So yeah, it's in we are in the evening now.
Well, I appreciate you making time to do this tonight. I know all of our viewers really appreciate it. This information that our guests always have, it's so important to share, and our community just loves hearing from people. So you did contribute to Cosmos Conf, I believe, last year. You had a really great session, and you're back here. to do a little bit more around Azure and Cosmos DB. I know you've got some stuff to show us, but before you do, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? Tell us how you got to be doing what you're doing today.
Cool. Yeah, I'm actually an AI engineer, specialized in machine learning, NLP, and building some amazing tools. And I got to work with Azure for a lot of time, and got to work with Azure Cosmos DB actually because I want to work with vector databases. So it was a good introduction to this. So I want people to actually know how to deal with it. It be easier to them.
Great. Well, love that you're part of this community. Love that you're helping out our different members of our community who may need information like working with vector databases. I'm sure that we could maybe bring you in to do something around that in the future. But we've got today. And today we've got some stuff to show off to everybody. I know you've got a presentation, so why don't you go ahead and bring that up? I'll pull it up on screen, and then we'll get started, all right? I will give you some space to go ahead and do your
All
presentation.
right.
And we'll go from there, all right? All right, there is your screen. Go ahead, save
Cool.
it, or present full screen, and I will give you some space. Have a great talk.
Okay, so hi everyone. Let me check first. Yeah, so let's do some CRUD operations with Azure Cosmos DB Emulator. So starting from here, let's first know how we will be, or what we will be doing today. So first of all, we will have an overview of Azure Cosmos DB Emulator and know some key features of the emulator and how to set up the emulator if you don't know how to do this. Then we will go in depth for the CRUD operations and know more about the request units and cost optimizations, and then have some demo, which will be the most important part of today's session. So first, the modern app we are dealing with today have to face a lot of challenges, which is new challenges. The most important five that I have noticed that managing distributed data globally is a great challenge. We need to deal with real-time data, and we need to handle large and complex data sets. We need to scale the throughput and storage dynamically, and of course, we need to provide low latency experiences. So what is Azure Cosmos DB? It's actually a global distributed multi-model database service. Quickly, it is a fully managed and built for modern apps. You can use it as a vector database, of course, so it guarantees like low latency and massive scale. And this is why we are dealing with the emulator today, not the Azure Cosmos DB from Azure itself, from the portal itself, because it is local development environment and it simulates all the features of Azure Cosmos DB. It is no cost or Azure subscription required, so you don't need anything. Just run the emulator and start to work, and it's ideal for testing and learning. So you don't need to pay anything, to have anything required, just testing and learning, so you can go to the emulator itself. So these are the steps first if we need to start working with the emulator. We have the official Microsoft download page. You can download it from there. And you can also use the Windows Package Manager to install it with this command right here. And step 2, you can then install the emulator after it is downloaded and accept, of course, all the license agreement, and choose your directory and then wait until it's completed. You can then find it right here. Like the emulator will be installed as an app, so you can open it, or you can just access it from the command line just to open it, but make sure to open it as an administrator then you can go to its place and start it by the command that you can see. And you, of course, need to wait some seconds for it to start. So this are what we will be doing today, the CRUD operations. So CRUD is actually for create, read, update, and delete. Create, like I'm inserting new items, new documents. Read is retrieving the existing items or documents. Update, I need to modify the items and documents that I have. Delete, of course, it's just removing them. So I have this hierarchy, like I am having my account, then I am having in my account the database, then the container, and then the item or document. Let's see first, before we are going to do our demo, why we need to do the CRUD operations, why we need to actually learn to use them. So in real-world applications, we can use them in the e-commerce, like we need to have a product catalog management. For example, we need to make some order processing, we need to make some customer profiles. If I am working in the business systems, I am, for example, I am having an inventory tracking systems that I need to build. Let's say I have a customer relationship management dashboard or something. Let's say I am working in the automation of the sales process. So some of the benefits can be like simplify the data management. So data integrity and organizations are maintained through the standardized operations. This makes the applications easier to maintain and more reliable. And for the developer, it is a constant framework that allows the developer to focus on building the complex features, not just like reinventing basic data operations. So just focus on what we need for our business. For the user experience, the CRUD operations provide intuitive ways for the users to interact with data and enhance the overall application usability. So if I'm working with a real time, like I need to work with the data in a real time. So what is the benefit of this? That is improving the user experience. So I can see the updates now, what is happening now immediately. I can see all of these. The efficient resource utilization, so process the data changes as they occur. Some real-time, real-world example can be the chatbots or chat applications that are we are familiar with it nowadays. So new messages are added to a container, for example, and we can use the change feed to like detect the new messages, and if we need to push like notifications to the users in real time if something happened, all of these can be happen in the real time environment. And in this case, the emulator can help the developers to simulate the real time scenarios and test how their applications can handle these data changes. So before we move from the development phase to the production phase, we are making sure that everything is smooth and working in a great way, so we don't like waste a lot of money. So starting, let's perform some CRUD applications. We have two ways that we are talking about today or dealing with. The first thing is that using the Azure Cosmos DB SDK or .NET SDK, we are going to make the code in C#, and then we will be using the emulator interface itself, or a third option that you have is using the Azure Data Studio. So first of all, if I'm needing to use the .NET SDK, we need to make sure that Azure Cosmos DB is installed. So we just run install package microsoft.azure.cosmos, and the emulator will be running, so we can test our applications. So then we will be defining the connection string, the database ID, and the container ID. Then we will be using the Cosmos client, so we can connect to Cosmos DB instance. So starting with the create operation. I am having like here a snippet of code that is like more general, so you can use it in your code actually. So here I have create item assign. This is what we are creating the operations with that. So I have here parameters like item and the partition key. The item here is the documentation to be created, and the partition key is specifies the partition key value for this document. And here we have some optimization tips. So you can use batch optimization to create multiple items at once, and you can choose an appropriate partition key to ensure even distribution of data. And we will talk about the batch operations in a minute. So here we can see the create item async. As we see, it's a method that is used to insert a document into the specific container that we have. Then the second part is the read. So the read here is using the read item async, and we are reading in our example by the ID. So it will be faster. So we can access the document faster, and we can query by other fields, of course, and we can use the SQL query. Then we have some performance consideration that we need to avoid the cross partitions queries if it is not necessary, and always use the partition key when reading documents so we can minimize the latency itself. I will go through the update and delete, and then we will have our demos. So update here, we will be using the replace item async in our snippet of code right here. So here we have the partition and versus the full update. So Cosmos DB don't natively support like partial updates. So we need to replace entire document if we have, and we can change something in our documentations. So for this, for partial updates, we need to consider some stored procedures or some application logic. So we will do this today, of course. And here for the version control strategies, we will use the E tags to implement the optimistic like concurrency control, and we will increment a version number in the document to track these changes. Finally, the delete. So the delete here, we are using the delete item async. So for this, we are going to ensure that all our references to the deleted items are removed from our documents. And we need to handle our errors. So we make some exceptions. So we say like it does not exist, so it will be not found exception. And we log errors for some debugging purposes. So you will find me like always making the try thing. So we are making some error handling and debugging. Okay, so we can just go and have a try with the code first, and then come back to this part. So first, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. So let's say I'm making some directory. So let's say, okay, let's call it Cosmos DB Emulator. Okay, it's a very long name, so let's say Cosmos. Cool. Now the next step is that we need to start our application. So we will be using the .NET. So I'm saying this will be starting our application. Okay, so I need to just open this folder. Okay, cool. Okay. Now let's add the package. So let's just like this. So I'm here adding the Microsoft Azure Cosmos package. Okay.
Farah, while you're working, do you mind if I bring up a question that one of the viewers has?
Of course.
So Guillermo wants to know, does using link to query Cosmos DB affect performance of queries? For example, even configuring SDK for a direct connection, it reflects high latency in gateway connection mode. Could this be caused by the use of link?
Okay.
Are
Yeah.
you using link today? I didn't recognize that you did.
No, just the SDK and the Azure Data Studio.
Unfortunately, Guillermo, this is not really in context, so we don't have an answer for you right at the moment.
Yeah,
But we'll
sorry
feel
for
free
that.
to ask more like within the context of the CRUD operations in the emulator. Anyway, Farah, let me give it back to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so until it finishes, let me like writing all our code right here so we don't waste a lot of time. Okay, fine. Great. Okay. Let me just, okay, minimizing this. Okay, for this part, we are just going to, let's see. First, the create. So I'm preparing some example for here, for this session. We're going to create something for a person, like we having a person that have an ID, a person ID, a name, an age, address, a contact details. It have also an address. We have here the street, the city, and the country, and then the contact detail like type and value. Then we have here the program itself. So the first of all, let's make sure that our emulator is just working. So for making sure it work, we can, if you remember from the slides, that we have to run it in the command line or just open it as an application from your laptop. So mine is already there. So let's just jump here. So if you can see, no, yeah. So here I'm having the emulator running. You can see we have the URI, the primary key, the primary connection string, the Mongo connection string. We will be using these, the primary key right here. We can copy it. And then we have here the Explorer. So the Explorer, you can find that I don't have anything right here for like a database or container. So if we go back, after I have already taken the primary key and the URI, you can find that I have put them here, the endpoint URI and the primary key. So I'm just here, need to make sure first something that I'm importing, like making the endpoint URI and the primary key and have a database here. So I'm just calling it Farah DB. And then the container will be people and person ID. I need just to jump in right here. Let me, the same thing. Okay. So we don't need to install them again. Okay. So I'm here making like specifying the person ID and the name and the age and the address. For example, I'm making it, let's say my name, the age is random, of course. So I'm here making, let's say my city is Cairo and the country is Egypt. Then I need to specify some contact details. So I am making the type as email, and the value is specified right here, like the email that I need to have in my database. And then I'm using the create item as saying with the person that I have just said, like it's me, Farah, and then the partition key with the ID for this person. We will run this and see what will be happen. So I'm just running this. Okay. So just like .NET.run. So as we can see here, it's document created successfully. So if I'm going back to my Explorer, you can see here that the database is here created successfully, and I have here my container, and it have the items right here with what I've just specified, like the ID, the person ID, the name, the age, my address, my contact details, and here we have some tags. So this is the only thing that I have just specified. If I'm come back, and I need now to have, like, I have done some wrong, let's say some wrong information, and I need to correct them. So first I need to read what I have done so far. So let's just comment this. And deal with the read right now. So I need now to read my operations to see if I need to update anything or delete anything. So it's the same things right here for the read. I have the ID, my name, my age, everything, the address, the class of the address, the class of the contact details, the program. And here, the same, let's make sure that is the same name for the database, but I have here an ID. So this ID is not, I put it as a placeholder. So let's just jump right there and take this ID. You can see it right here. So let's read it from our code. And here I have the partition key, which is P001. So I need to read the person name and then its age. So I can, of course, add a lot of information to read, but let's say I need to read this right now. So if I'm writing .NET run, so it reads that we have the person. Let me zoom in. It have a person which is name is Farah and the age is 26. But if I need to say that the age is wrong, it's not right. So we just need to make some update operations. So we will be doing this right here. If I need to do some operations for the update, I'm just doing them one by one. We can, of course, doing it in batch, so they are all working together, but let's keep it simple. So the same thing that we have, but the only thing that will be different here, that I need to add the ID, the correct one. And here I have read item as saying. So this will say that I need to read first the existing document and then update it. So I need to update them with, let's say, the age 27. I need to make a city something else, not Cairo, which make it Aswan, for example. And I have here need to add a lot of information. So I think that I missed the phone number. So I'm just adding the phone number with the add command. So right here. And I'm replacing the document. So I'm using the replace item async. So with the person ID, a person and the person ID, and a new partition key, which is the person, the person ID. and I'm needing to know if it's finished or we have an error. So for the error handling, I have the catch right here. So if it's okay, it will say like the document updated successfully. If it is not, it will say to me the ID was not found. If it's not found, it's not there. For example, I deleted it accidentally. So if it's not, it will show some error and the status code and the message. So if I'm saying, let's update. Okay, it says that it's not found. So let's make sure that we have the correct ID. Let's refresh and take the right ID. Let's go up there. And I have here, let's make sure that is the same database and run it. Great. So after making sure that I have the same ID, the same database, the same information, it says it's updated successfully. If I go again to my emulator and just refresh it, I can find that the information is already changed. So my age was 26 and now it's 27. We have here the city changes and the phone number and the value is already added. So I don't have the phone number from in the beginning, but now it's right here. Now, what about if I need to delete them? Like I don't need this anymore, so I will delete it. So let's just comment this and use the delete operation. So starting with the delete, it will be the same thing. So I'm just right here. So it's the same information. I'm providing the same classes, the endpoint, the primary key, and I have here making sure that we have the same container and the database names. Like if I saying like the ID, I need to change it. And we have here, it's so simple that just delete item async. And I have specified that if it is deleted successfully, just let me know. And if there's an error, just let me know the message. So I'm just going to run the delete. So I don't need this database anymore. So it's deleted successfully. So if I'm going right here and just refresh, I can find it. Like if I'm going here, refresh it, I can find the people here, item. I don't find anything right here. So it just like if I need to refresh, go to Azure Explorer, nothing. So that's so easy using the .NET SDK. We have another way, but let's just jump over our application, our presentation again, and know some information about the request units or the RU. So we have some limits in the emulator. Of course, we have like up to 10 fixed size containers at 400 RU, or you can have 5 unlimited size containers. That's what you can use in your emulator. But if I need to have some rate limiting options, I have already the disable rate limiting switch that I can use. And here this switch will remove the throughput restrictions, but it doesn't allow you to set specific RU values. There's some important limitations that we need to know, that the emulator cannot be scaled out. So you are not dealing with a cloud, you are just dealing with something that you can test, you can learn with. So it is just for the testing purposes. Don't put it in your applications, in your production applications. Just use it when you need to learn or test on your own or in your development phase. The container throughput settings can be viewed using Data Explorer that we have just see, and we have just like refresh every time we are doing a different operation to see the results. If you have scenarios that require higher RU limits, then you need to go to the Cosmos DB service on the portal of Azure instead of the emulator itself. I have here some cost optimization strategies that we can go quickly through it. So we need to note that while the emulator is free for development and learning and testing, it's crucial to practice the cost optimization during the development. Why? So because these practices will directly impact your production costs, of course. So you're just needing to test this before you use this in your production. So we have the development best practices, like use the emulator for the local development and testing without incurring any costs. Implement proper partition key selection so you can avoid any hot partitions, and you need to monitor your consumptions to identify the optimization opportunities. We have the performance optimization. So we will talk about the batch operation. We can use it when possible, so we can reduce the overall RU consumption, and we can optimize the queries to minimize the usage or the resource usage, and use the appropriate indexing policies to reduce the RU costs. The storage, of course, is so important. If you are dealing with a business, you need to break down like the large documents into smaller ones, so it will have a better performance, and you need to implement like proper data modeling to optimize the storage usage. This is an example that we have talked about the batch operation. So the batch operation, it's actually just allowing you to perform multiple CRUD operations in one request or a single request. So this is maybe like more efficient, reduce the network overhead. But if you are a beginner, just keep it simple and go step by step. The benefits in the emulator is that it will reduce the latency, it will improve the throughput and the atomacy. So we just can handle more operations per unit time. We can have less time spent on individual requests, and all the operations in a batch are executed atomically. So atomically means that they all either succeed or all failed. So we can ensure that the data is constant. So the second way is that we are using the Azure Data Studio. So we are going to make it in, like if you need to do it in two ways, we can make it an input as a parameter, and we can make it as a connection string. So just you need your Azure Data Studio application. You can download it from Microsoft website, and you can just connect it with your emulator with the connection string. So these are the steps. We are going to do this actually now. So another way, we are going, you can see like the server right here. If you just open your Azure Data Studio, just right click on the new connection, and from here you need to choose the connection type. So you can see it by default it's the Microsoft SQL Server, but if you don't download it, the Azure Cosmos DB, let's make sure that it's here. You can find it. You can just search for Cosmos DB, and you find it right here. So just download it, install it, and you will find it in the connections. After that, you need to choose. You are working with NoSQL right now. So the connection string here is actually the one that is in my emulator. You can find here the connection string, right? The primary connection string. Just copy this, which is starting with account endpoint, and paste it in your Azure Data Studio. If you are using the MongoDB, just copy this one, the Mongo connection string. So I have created a one already, so just right paste it here. The name is option, and the server group, choose it by whatever you want. You can find mine is here. You can notice that my database is already here. If I'm refreshing it, it's already here. Okay, let's see. Let's say open my database. So I have here the container, which is people. I don't have anything on it. So let's say if I need to add a document, but I don't need to add it this way. Let me add it with our SDK again. So we have just deleted, but let's just redo it. I'll just uncomment this. Okay. Okay, cool. I will need just to refresh from my data studio. And if I need to create a new container, just like click here, I need to add any name, let's say demo. And you can notice it's already created here. Okay, cool. If I'm accessing this, yes, it's here. So I'm just like select all from C, which is my my document already. So it's already created here. We have the ID, the person ID, the name. You can expand this. You can see the address, the contact details. And it's so easy. Just make sure that you are connected with your connection string correctly. And you will find yourself can manage this from a lot of places. So yeah, this is our last thing. So this were the two ways that we have done the CRUD operation so far using the SDK, or you are don't, or if you don't need to use it, or you don't feel comfortable with coding, you just make it from the emulator itself, or just from the Azure Data Studio. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Farah. That was really great. I appreciate it. I'm going to give our audience a chance, if they have any more questions, to go ahead and ask. But while we do that, I'm going to bring back Askia, and we're going to kind of start closing things out. Hi, Askia. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Jay.
Well, that was a great session. But I know you got some things that people can do to let us know if they thought it was a good session.
Absolutely. We are always open for feedback. So we would love to hear what you have to say. We have a survey link that is on the screen. So if you could take a moment to fill that out, we would greatly appreciate it. And the key thing with this is that you want to make sure you enter today's event code, which is 24780, 24780. And I will try to pop that link in the chat as well.
Great. Well, let's take a look at our chat. Chop and Wine says, it was very nice. Thank you. Well, Farah, I got to agree. It was very nice. Thank you so much for being with us today. Anything else interesting that you may want us to know? That maybe you got more talks coming up, anything like that? You're on mute, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. So I'm saying that I have make something like some plug with Cosmos DB Emulator, of course, but with Python. So you can try. Like I need to make people think like if everything is possible, whatever the code you are working with, whatever language you are needing, just make sure that you are applying everything you learn.
We're just about done, and I wanted to also remind everybody that we do have Azure Cosmos DB Conf coming up. We're looking for you to take part. Go ahead and send in your proposal. Click the bar here currently. Don't take date on it. Cosmos Conf. I really hope you take part, because we'd love to see and hear your voice. It's really one of the reasons, like, Farah's here today. Had an opportunity to present, took that opportunity, and now back again presenting again on a different subject. Anyway, that's about it for today. I really appreciate you all watching, enjoying, and be sure to come back. I think we've got another session next week with another member of the Cosmos DB team. We're going to have a couple more extra sessions here and there. But until the next time, I want to make sure you all have a great, happy, and healthy rest of your day and your week. Farah, Askia, let's give everybody a big wave goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for watching us today. Hope we can see you again soon. Thanks so much.